Baker Show. Seeking answers to age-old questions. Deciphering the world painted around you by the mainstream media. This is the Kev Baker Show. And now, here is your host, Kev Baker.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. A big, massive, warm welcome to this, a very special broadcast of the Kev Baker Show, with me, your host, Kev Baker. And tonight, I am joined by my usual co-hosts, Big Martin and Johnny Whistles. We've also got, in 2 seconds, I need to reconnect the hosts here. Hopefully that will fix it, Marty. Let's stand by and see if that fixes it, and then we can get right back into this. How you doing, Marty, man?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks, Kev. That seems to have fixed everything.
Excellent stuff. So here we go, folks. I will start again. Very special broadcast tonight on the Kev Baker Show. I'm your host, Kev Baker, obviously joined by my co-host, Marty. We've got Johnny Whistles on the call tonight. We've also got a fellow host on the network, good friend, and the man behind Enigma TV, Mr. Christopher Everard. And back with us tonight are the people at the heart of the HAMPSTEAD cover-up, and that is Ella Gariva and Abraham Christie. I got your name right this week, Abraham. Brilliant. So, folks, before we get into that, a quick hello from the guys on the panel. So, Marty, how you doing, man? Thanks for that audio check at the start, brother. Really appreciate it. And this is going to be another one of those brilliant, epic shows.
Oh, it really is. I'm going to sit back and just take in this information tonight and really let you guys, lay the groundwork and stuff. But again, a disclaimer, if there's any children listening, you know the drill. It's going to be dark.
Exactly. At the discretion of the parents listening, it is totally up to you whether you allow your children to listen to this or not. So then, moving on to Johnny Whistles. How are you doing, man? And like I says to Marty, another big show here tonight.
Yeah, great to be here, Kevin. It's fantastic to have Ella and Abe back again. So, and Mr. Everard here to get into it. So let's break it down.
Exactly. I'm getting a bit of feedback there, Abraham. There we go. I think no. Still a bit of feedback.
There's no reason why you should.
Don't know. Speaker maybe close to the...
Pardon, the speaker? There's no reason you should be getting feedback.
Let's see if we're... No, it's still coming through. You getting that, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Kev, it's only when you're talking.
Yeah, it seems to be... No, it's away now. That's it. It's away now, guys. So before we get to Ella and Abraham, Chris, another big show tonight. And hats off to you for your constant articles that are coming out right now. And hopefully we'll be able to touch on some of them as the show goes on. But welcome back to the show tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've published 2 articles in the last 2 days, and the one that I published yesterday morning has been shared more than 2,000 times.
You see, this is what we're talking about. That blog of yours really is having some effect. Now, usually me and you can speak for hours, and we can do that any night of the week, Chris. But tonight, myself, Marty, Johnny, and Chris have brought onto the show for everyone for an important message from Ella and Abraham, the people from the centre of the HAMPSTEAD cover-up. Now, we had them on at the start of the week, and we barely managed to scratch the surface. So without me wasting any more of the listeners' time out there, Ella, Abraham, thank you for joining us again tonight, and welcome back to the show.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
I'm doing good, Ella. How are you doing?
Yes, alright, good, thank you.
Excellent stuff. Now, I think the best place to start here was, before the show, I was quite shocked to learn that we know that you haven't been given access to the children since they've been taken into care. However, Abraham was informing us that this is actually against the law, because they are supposed to be appealing for the right to continue the care every week, but that hasn't been happening, has it?
That's correct. And they suspended a lot of contacts in the last 5 months. They completely cancelled all of them, and they're ignoring all our requests. So they, in a sense, they do whatever they like.
They certainly do. And Abraham, when we were speaking before the show, we were getting into the fact of the case, the original case itself, and the fact that the judge in question was very harsh at the extrapolations that you came to from the evidence that you had seen in the children and from their testimony. And you've got a bit of a theory behind why they're so keen to close this kind of story down. Would you like to speak to that, Abraham?
I wish it was merely a theory, Kev. I really do.
So do I.
It seems that they have an agenda. It's been going on for a few decades now to introduce paedophilia. And to normalize paedophilia. In 2010 there was an article on the TAP Newswire where they cited an EU directive that was leaning in that direction. And then we've had John, I think his name is DeLay, a fellow called Tom. Now, Tom DeLay, he's just cited a memo from the Department of Justice in the United States that is they're about to legalize 12 perversions, and the two that they name, one is bestiality and the other one is pedophilia.
Well, Abraham, if you just pause there, I've actually got that clip that you sent me, just in case there's any listeners out there that think that we're talking off the top of our heads here. Just take a listen to this, guys.
Well, we've already found a secret memo coming out of the Justice Department. They're now going to go after 12 new perversions, things like bestiality, polygamy, having sex with little boys and making that legal. And not only that, but they have a whole list of strategies to go after the churches, the pastors, and any businesses that tries to assert their religious liberty. This is coming, and it's coming like a tidal wave.
All right, so Congress, I just want to get this straight. So you are aware of a Justice Department memo that says there will be an effort to legitimize or legalize bestiality, pedophilia, and, as you put it, perversions?
That's correct. They're coming down with 12 new perversions.
So there you go, guys. Just in case there's anyone out there that might be new to this kind of information, it's okay, myself, Abraham, and the guys here laying this out, but there you have it, a leaked memo from the Department of Justice. And Abraham, you mentioned a 2010 report there. Even Harriet Harman in 2009, she was talking about watering down the actual incest laws in the UK and the child pornography laws. So long as there wasn't any harm done to the children, she didn't see a problem with that. And this all starts to build a picture, but it's only going back to 2009 so far, that there definitely is this push, Abraham, to water down these kind of laws so that the cult that you find yourself embroiled in, that becomes kind of normal place, almost.
Almost, yeah. Well, where have we traced it back to? We may have traced it back to a British Socialist Society. It goes further, but we can trace the academic sort of legitimization of many of these ideas from a fellow, what is it? Is it Havelock Ellis? I can't remember. Then from him you've got Kinsey, a disciple of his, and then we've got Peter Wrighton. So there seems to be a continuity here. And Peter Wrighton, along with
legitimizing all this.
Yes,
absolutely. They try to do it anyway with Pi.
Go on.
They have tried to do it with Pi, where they were putting forward the lowering down of the age of consent up to 4 years old. And that's been happening, which years? It was
1974. Pi was founded. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, we're listening to you. And Pi is it's an organisation that when I first came across this, Ella, Abraham, I couldn't believe what I was actually reading. But in recent months, we've come to learn that the likes of MI5, MI6, they were quite happy for something like the paedophile information exchange. A, because it forwarded this agenda, and B, it enabled them to highlight and identify high-level paedophiles early in their careers so that they could blackmail them. Not that so that they could jail them, but so they could use them. And I'm sure you guys will agree with that.
Most definitely. and of course so they could network and all sort of support each other. Yeah,
and exchange the information about the children. But the issue is that the same people who Peter Wrighton we're talking about specifically, these people formulated the policies and codes of practice for the social workers. In fact, the Institute of Social Workers has been formed then, and they've been training pedophiles.
They've been training social workers. They've been training other pedophiles to become social workers. The social work system is a pedophile. It's a pedophile's charter. Yes, there are people other than pedophiles working within the system. However, they can't rock the boat. They daren't expose the culture, even if they're not in total agreement.
And you know, Abraham, when you've put me onto this Barbara Cahan character, and when I look at her career, it's almost as if, you know, it's like the paedophiles ended up running the child services. Her and her husband infiltrated that. I'm not saying they were the first ones to like set this off. However, once they were instilled in this National Children's Bureau, and the husband, of course, a murky character we can find little about, Vladimir Khan, he was a psychiatrist with Tavistock.
That's correct.
Very
That's
good.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it seems like it was a Tavistock idea.
Yeah.
Of the social services. Really, they got themselves organized and they created vehicles which
gave them free
gave them access and also to supply unlimited amount of children.
Barbara Khan was one of the main players, Ella, who was responsible for children that were in care actually being returned to the community, to local care homes. It's the site of so many of these cults and crimes.
But the problem with those foster families, a lot of them belong to the cult. So they adopt children to
indoctrinate them
into this cult, and also to create a generation of mind-controlled sex slaves.
Exactly, and that generational thing is key when it comes to monarch mind control, a part of the MK Ultra project. Now, guys, please stop me if I'm going too far here, but I was saying before the show that when you first came out, or when the children first came out, Alicia and Gabriel, I honestly was expecting other families to follow in your bravery, to maybe see this as a chink of light to get out of the hell that was surrounding them. But that wasn't the case. Now, can we go there, Abraham, as to why that might be the case? Nobody came forward.
You said it earlier, Chris. They have to blood in and blood out. To join the cult, you have to sacrifice an infant. And once you're in,
you can't get out and you can't talk. And this method of operation, they mastered it. You know, they have a certain method of operation where if someone reports this, they deal with these people quickly.
They cover it up quickly.
They sanction them. They arrest them or hunt off the country, and they take your children. That's it.
And of course,
or they ruin them financially. You know, they taking people's houses. We know that they just literally throw people on the street without passports, without money.
Then we had the case of like Jimmy Savile, who we've covered umpteen times on here. But when we think about him, he was going to these kind of cults, these parties, and what he was doing was he was going to Margaret Thatcher, identifying all the members of her party that were involved, and instead of ruining them, she promoted them because then she had something over them. And this is how the game works, folks. And that's why it's important that we concentrate on how this one individual cult operates. But it's so much bigger than that. Because as we were kind of touching at the start of the show there, this really does affect everybody out there. Whether you have children or not, you at least know somebody with children. And I'm telling you guys, as sick as it sounds, they are trying to come for them. They want to make this normal. They see us as a problem because they can't see what is unnatural about child-adult love. Their words, not mine. Would you agree with that, guys?
Most definitely.
The problem is that this culture of pedophilia is been going on in the UK, and I imagine in Europe, in quite a few in many countries in Europe, and
it's
just became, you know, like if child is born to this family, and it's like, for example, the infant or the child would never touch piece of meat unless, you know, there is nothing else. And what happens, if children are forced this kind of diet, otherwise they would never go for it, right? The same thing that it happens here. You know, if you grown in this environment, you regard it as normal. Like children said that they thought everybody's doing it, and they thought it's normal. They thought I'm not normal because I'm not doing it.
Hey, did you get that? Did you get that? Could you get that?
Well, we heard that loud and clear.
They thought their mother was the strange, weak one because she wasn't doing it. Everyone was doing it.
I don't think they regarded me maybe as a weak one, but you know, I wasn't. There were not so many adults in their environment who didn't do it.
And Ella, were you ever put in a position where they asked you to join and blood in, as we called it earlier?
Well, the thing is, you know, during this short period of time when I knew him, he tried many things to get me down this road. It's not like oh, you know, join the cult. You know, they gauge you. They sort of test you. They find out what's your weak points, or what, you know, whether you have how to say, where you're thirsty for money or for power. And this is the main reasons, by the way, that people are joining this cult. It's not about anything else. It's money and power. That's what they want. It's
about the self. It's about ego. It's purely satanic.
Exactly,
yes, very
exactly.
Good, very good.
And he did try many things. However, then when I always felt strange in the school. It was I was like outside, and I thought maybe because I'm a foreigner, and but now I understand, because they kept distance, because they probably thought, you know, if he didn't manage to get me into cult, you know, like nobody really approached me to do, you know, to get involved. So, and he knew that I'm not interested in any of this stuff. You know, he tried to get me, you know, in all kind of things. So, and I thought at the time it was like really strange, and this is kind of was the reason why I disengaged from him.
Wow. Now, I'll just bring Chris in at this point, because I think this is a good point, Chris, just to briefly touch on the roots of maybe the cult that we are dealing with here.
Yeah, well, I discovered that in 1967 there was a guy called Ronald White, and he formed a coven at Queen's Wood, which is in Hampstead Heath. Mm-hmm. And this coven attracted millionaires who live in Hampstead. And they celebrated outdoors on all of the equinoxes, all of the pagan holidays, and this coven grew really, really big. And it had well over 100 members, and they called themselves the Regency. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow I'm going to follow up a few leads that I got today, and basically what I'm trying to do is write articles where I'm kind of taking each of the allegations from the children's testimonies and, you know, really rooting through old newspapers and letters and postcards and whatever I can find to actually corroborate as much of the allegations as possible, because basically, as far as I understand English law, is that you can apply for a judge's ruling to be set aside if you can show that there is a kind of critical mass of corroborative evidence that was overlooked at the time by the police.
And by the judge as well.
Yeah.
Or say unwillingness to even look into it.
Yeah, and of course today I published an article about this police officer at Barnet Police Station called David Badiel, and he was in possession not of just normal child pornography, but it was rated as the highest, most extreme child pornography. So that's not a normal child pornography case. That's, the actual case against him actually said this is extreme pornography. Now, just down the road from Hampstead, you've got Kentish Town. I mean, you can jump on a bus and get to Kentish Town, no problem. And there's a priest who is also a friar, and he too had more than 5,000 images of extreme child pornography. That's not normal child pornography. This is really extreme, violent child pornography. Now, he got off with a caution. And so, basically the threads that I've been following today and yesterday is leading me towards this coven, which is called the Regency.
You see, for people out there, I mean, this might seem unconnected with this priest and this police, but that police is in the same kind of area in the station as where this was all centred. And by going to the clergy, we're also adding weight to the evidence that Gabriel and Alicia brought forward in the first place. Because some people will still say it's quite ridiculous. However, if we're able to build case after case where we can show patterns of these things happening, maybe, just maybe, we can get through to those people out there who haven't woken up, who haven't realised that this is as real as it gets. It's dark, it's horrible, and that's reality, folks, and we had better face it now, because as Ella and Abraham are saying, they're trying to legalise this. This is going to become normal. Okay, Ella, Abraham, sorry for jumping in all over you there, but just when we touched on the cult, I thought it would be nice to possibly get a bit of the history behind it.
They're not trying to legalise it, they're doing it.
And that's why they let him out with just caution. And by the way, children did mention that there are a number of policemen involved in this. And Kentish Town was mentioned, as well as Barnet, Holborn, West Hampstead. Well, it seems like all Hampstead police station is involved, and few others, I think.
We know for sure now, of course, that the UCS school in Hampstead has been, one of the bases used by a pedo cult, and that's been exposed by the author Jonathan Self, and that's literally round the corner.
That's correct.
Absolutely, a couple of blocks from where we lived.
Yeah.
Now, we're almost up on the break, guys, so before we go to the break, we've got a really, really important day coming up on July the 23rd at the Courts of Justice on the Strand in London. Ella, could you tell the listeners about that in case there's anyone out there who doesn't realise what's going to be happening that day?
Right. Well, this is the day of appeal, which we're appealing against Judge Puffley's judgment, and we invite. It's going to be an open hearing, and of course, those citizens who are concerned about Alice and Gabriel, and also all other children. We're welcoming people to join, well, to come and to listen what's going to happen, or to come and protest as well. So,
exactly, folks, because as we say on TFR, I mean, in the eyes of the law, silence literally is consent. And if you can get along there to show your support, please, please do. Alternatively, if you're miles away and you can't, just do what you can on social media. Please keep spreading the word about this case, because we have to stay on this right now. Now, coming up right after this show, it's going to be Popeye with Down the Rabbit Hole, and then straight after that, it will be Mike and Kristan with the Rundown Live, followed by the one and only Phoenix Rising Radio. Then tomorrow night, we'll be back for Freaky Friday. That's 3 hours from midnight, so that's something to look forward to. Marty, Jono, bit quiet there during the first half, but again, absolutely fantastic information. And remember, Marty, John, if there's anything you need to ask the guys as well, we can get into that on the second half.
No problem, Kev. It's just, myself and Marty are quiet, but it's rather leave it to Abe and Ella for this.
Exactly, folks. That is what this show is all about. And don't forget about the children involved in all of this. Alicia and Gabriel. Without their bravery, there would be none of this coming to light. So aside from Ella and Abraham, please keep those children in your prayers and thoughts tonight. And we'll be back, folks, after these short messages. So go and get yourself a nice drink, a cup of tea, whatever it is you have. And we'll join you in a few short moments.
This is the Kev Baker Show.
Welcome back to the second half of tonight's broadcast of the Kev Baker Show, right here on www.truthfrequencyradio.com. I'm your host, Kev Baker. Tonight I'm joined by Big Marty, Johnny Whistles, Mr. Christopher Everard, and Ella Gariva, and Abraham Christie. Now then, let's get right back into this, folks, because we were talking about the two children at the centre of this whistleblower case. However, they were part of a massive cult. And that means there's other children involved to this day. So Ella, Abraham, I know this is something that you guys really, really want to touch on. What would you like to say about what's going on with the other members in this cult?
Well, the children don't like it. They don't want to be in the cult, and they're trapped and they're suffering. And these children are the main reason why we came back, because we had opportunity which we were considering seriously not to come back to the UK. And then we made this group decision that we're going to go back and report this problem and attempt to help other children as well. And those children they have tattoos, they have piercing, and
all children, all of the children,
they've been brutally raped as we speak.
If both their parents are in the cult, then they apparently have tattoos. But if one of the parents isn't in the cult, then they don't have tattoos. And that's why Gabriel and Elisa haven't got tattoos. Have they? They haven't.
No,
of course not.
Sure.
We'd like to get back to the bigger picture as well, of how this has been an agenda, and Peter Wrighton, a government connected, prolific, predatory paedophile, how with Barbara Kahan's help and a Tavistock psychiatrist husband, how they helped to create a sort of paedophile charter and give them free and easy access to vulnerable children in hundreds of children's homes, and how Peter Wrighton was able to establish himself as an eminent authority on childcare, particularly residential childcare, and how he was able to insinuate and place his paedophile associates into strategic positions in hundreds of children's homes and schools and hospitals.
And Abraham, they could have stopped him early in his career, because when he was a teacher at a boys' school in Oxford, the headmaster, he was told all about this, and instead of actually reporting him, they came to a gentleman's agreement. He moved on to another school to continue his career and his sordid sodomite pastime without anyone ever being warned. And again, this is the culture that exists that allows this to happen.
Much like the Catholic priests.
Very much so.
Yeah. And so what we're talking about is that we're now having to deal with the toxic legacy of the work that Barbara Kahan, who we now consider to be the patron saint of pedophiles, Barbara Kahan, Peter Wrighton, and her husband, we feel that unholy alliance was instrumental in formulating for example, Barbara Kahan, she helped to outlaw corporal punishment in 1951. And that was, no one wants to get smacked. No child wants to get smacked. No one wants to get smacked. However, this, we feel, was part of their agenda in order to steal children from anyone who would dare chastise their children. And this was in 1951. And now we're dealing with the toxic legacy of industrialized, institutionalized child stealing, because you've not only got the cults that are indoctrinating their own children and any adopted children into these organizations, but you've also got the approved schools. You've got ordinary schools that these cults have infiltrated. And now you've got CAFCAS, the Court and Family CAFCAS. What is it? Child and Family Court Advisory Support Service or something. CAFCAS, yes. Alright, you've got CAFCAS working in conjunction. They're supposed to be an independent body, and they're working in conjunction with Tavistock and Portman NHS Trust, and who else we've got? Coram, the third largest adoption agency in the UK. So they're all working together. When it's illegal for them to work together, they're all working together to steal children and supply them to the highest bidder.
I mean, CAFCAS, Abraham, should not be working with anyone else like that, should they?
Absolutely
not.
Of
course not, but they do. They do. I mean, there is no laws for them. They do whatever they like.
It's a paedophile charter.
Exactly, and but then you've got law for everybody else.
And that's how they were able to provide information to the Home Office report in 1970. When was it? I think it was after 1974 when they were first formed PI, the Paedophile Information Exchange. They were able to provide information to a Home Office inquiry into lowering the age of consent, and their academic work was coming from the likes of Alfred Charles Kinsey, who's been exposed as another sexologist charlatan. So they've insinuated themselves into they've got people in government, MI5, Home Office. It's a paedophile. It's a culture of paedophilia. And another aspect about it is that it even has penetrated into normal, ordinary families. And where any sexual assaults on children are happening, often mothers keep silent, or there is a conspiracy of silence. Understandably so, because we've had to advise mothers not to report if they suspect that their children, if they suspect
that the children been abused, we would say, don't report this problem, and liaison with your family members, your friends, and prepare to leave the country.
Ella, do you regret coming forward in some ways?
On one hand, I do. Of course, I do. I've been missing my children for 10 months now, and I don't know what's going on with them. But knowing what's going on in these foster families, and a lot of the children who are leaving those foster families, they've been raped and violently abused. So of course it's difficult, and we talk about this very often. But on the other hand, God made it this way, and of course, nobody would know about it. Of course, we would probably, if we didn't come back, we would probably release this information, but we only would have children private videos. And of course, but now you have private videos, you've got police interviews, we got medical reports, so it's all substantiated with the evidence. And so look how many people knowing about it and doing websites and blogs and talk about it. And people have to know, because this is the part of this conspiracy. It's not the theory, it is conspiracy. It is going on many levels. Not just that, it's going on economical, financial level, it's going on mental level. I mean, they
The bankers, the very same bankers, the Masonic bankers, these are cult members. This is the thing. They're cult members. The same people who are stealing your wealth through quantitative easing, through the manipulation of the silver and gold price, because that's real, silver and gold is real money. These pieces of paper that they're telling everybody is money. These pieces of paper are currency. They're debt-based instruments. They're a way of keeping people in debt. They're not a way of freeing you. Apparently gold is the money of royalty. Silver is the money of nobles. Copper is for workers, and debt is for slaves. And this is part of their agenda, is to enslave people economically in order to be able to take their children that much easily.
Mm. And what's going on.
And that's what's going on. And within this culture, within our fairy tales, we have, a wonderful legacy of fairy tales. And throughout these fairy tales, we are taught that witches steal your babies to eat them. This is our collective memory.
Mm.
So then of course, we're blessed to be in the position where we're able to communicate this message to the people, so people would know. And
Della, I think it's very important, because I suspect that a lot of the people who will be seeking out information like this will actually be mothers in similar situations to what you were when you realised what was going on. And I think it's brilliant that you can come on here with everything that's going on right now, Ella, and still have enough empathy and enough love in your heart to actually be worrying about the other people out there. And I just have to thank you for that, just right now in here, because honestly that shows just the kind of person you are. And to all the haters out there, I hope that shows you exactly what kind of person we're dealing with here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kev. How would you be? How could you be, Kevin, if you ran away with your two children and yet you knew that there was a gang, a group of other children from 20 other families?
At least, but only knew about those children. But what about all other children? What about those children who are snatched every 2 minutes in the UK? With a child missing every 2 minutes.
Exactly, and we called this the child snatching industry when we were talking before setting these shows up. It really is at an industrial level, guys.
And they've gone already very far. They already kind of established their system where it's working like that. And while the majority of people are watching the television and being entertained.
It's a death cult. Look, they've been doing this for thousands of years. They've been sacrificing children and sodomizing little boys. They say that by stimulating the nerve endings at the base of the spine when they enter the anal passage, they stimulate energy, they create energy, kundalini-like energy, which activates the third eye, the pineal gland of the infant, and they get flashes of light. They open their third eye, they get glimpses of cosmic consciousness, and this is what they see flashes of light, and they say this is where the term Illuminati comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is that people don't realize is that 1960s the sexual revolution, that was a social engineering agenda of or how could I say, plan of the likes of Tavistock, and they used people like Alfred Charles Kinsey's work to formulate these ideas. And the Beatles apparently they were just merely a product of social engineering.
And all of that tied into breaking up family units in no small part, Abraham.
Absolutely, and this is their goal.
Yeah, to
destroy the family unit
and to destroy the sexual morality.
And one thing you mentioned there, Abraham and Ella, was the fact that people are distracted by the television. Now that takes us back to an institution that has got its tentacles all over this, and that we've mentioned a couple of times in Tavistock, because they are responsible for a lot of the mind washing that goes on of the general public. And you know what, guys? They are bloody good at it.
Via television, via subliminal advertisement.
Yeah. But if people switch off, if they switch off the one-eyed monster, then they can start to look inside
And this is another thing I
intuition.
would encourage people to do. Get rid of the television in the house.
Get rid of the tell-lie vision.
And, don't let anyone to brainwash you and your children.
Because it's a death cult. Look, it's a death cult. They believe in death. They glorify death. They fear death because they have no faith. They fear death. They eat dead food and they make dead offerings of children.
And making others believe in death as well.
Absolutely. And they make dead offerings to their bogeyman god of death because they lack faith. They fear death. And it's a death cult. And they want everybody else to join in.
And if you don't join in, it doesn't matter, because under the things that are coming down the road very fast, guys, they're just going to come for the children. And I keep pointing towards the fact that up here in Scotland, we really are facing a big problem, because the government are wanting to assign one of their goons for every child born until the age of 18. Now anything, absolutely anything at all, will now trigger that goon to go to the likes of these agencies that are absolutely infested from the top down by the kind of paedophiles that follow the works of people like, let's say Kinsey, the guy that was raping 5-month-old babies, all in the name of science.
Yeah.
It seems that he was another Sabbatai Sevi sort of Jacob Frank disciple, in that his intention was merely to destroy the sexual morality of modern civilization. So it was just to, and this is why we link it into the HAMPSTEAD cult, because the children used to tell us that, that they used to make them do anything that was good, do the opposite.
Even to eat
at the
in
table.
disgusting manner. Or
just anything. Anything that was good, do the opposite.
Or putting poo on the food.
The cult of reversal.
Suspect before the children actually came forward, did you have suspicions this was going on?
Of course, I had no idea, but in regards, I was suspecting something. I had problem with the children, with these two children for, since the beginning. And I thought that, I just was unlucky to have, unruly children. And
Ella, I'm not prying, but I think it might be handy, because again, there might be mothers out there just now who are worried that something may be going on, and if something resonates with them that you noticed, that's the only reason I bring this up.
Yes, I totally understand, and I do speak about this for the same reason as well, to help other parents to identify the potential problem. And for example, the underlying issue, which I had no idea what it was, but I knew it was there, and I tried to do many things. I went to child psychologists, and I went for parenting courses, because I thought I was the problem. I had no idea that he was seeing the children almost every day at school, and I didn't have any idea what was going on in the school. However, this issue it started to escalate, the aggression, for example. I guess this anger, which is trapped within them, within the children, it has to come out some way, and it will come as an aggression towards me, towards each other, towards some other adults in the house, towards Abraham when he came to our family. And then, for example, Alisa, she started to grow cold and cynical. The cynicism was really shocking, and it did really concern me. And on the other hand, Gabriel, he developed kind of this blackouts, sort of conscious blackouts, where his eyes would be sort of glazed. and I guess he probably developed the mechanism to switch off from the reality.
It's almost like MK Ultra, Ella, where it's almost compartmentalizing the psyche.
Right. So it's
consumption of the blood would do that, you see.
Yeah, exactly. And after school, that was the nightmare. I would always I would have to prepare myself emotionally to go to collect them from school, because I knew that it's gonna be like a storm. They would like put the loads of those negative emotions on me, and they would be fighting, and to the point that it would be dangerous to drive with them in the car. So, what else?
We just want mothers to know what they should do.
Yeah, and
mothers to know what they should do if they suspect that their children, any of their children, are being exposed to this.
And what do you advise, Abraham?
We advise them to go to a
leave the country,
a trusted member of their community, to keep
and leave
their own counsel.
The jurisdiction, I would say.
Yes, to prepare themselves to leave the jurisdiction with their children, or be prepared for the possibility of losing their children. Now, Vicky Haig says, this is a quote from Vicky Haig, she says, all a mother has to do is meet a paedophile. Because what happens invariably when you go to the secret family courts, because they already know that they have this agenda to legitimize or to normalize pedophilia and bestiality, they know they have this agenda and it's coming down the pipeline. So what they're doing, when a mother complains about her child being abused by a paedophile,
suspicion,
the child is invariably given into the care of the paedophile, and this is why this keeps happening, and they're using the secrecy of the family courts in which to do it. You see, now this should have been. Are you still there?
Yes, we're still here.
This should have been a criminal case. The children were alleging murders. According to EU laws, it should have been investigated.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was never, ever, 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 never interviewed. Never interviewed me once.
Wow. Just part of the actual cover-up that is in motion. And we've mentioned bestiality there, folks. If you think back to something we've spoke about on the show before called the NDAA in America, the National Defense Association Act, at one point, I believe it was 2012, they removed the laws against bestiality in the military. I remember myself and Joe Joseph and everyone else having a good laugh about that on a Hangar 18 show. Not so funny when you tie it into what the bigger picture is and the end agenda. And with that one move alone and that one piece of evidence, it's one of many, but we can see that everything that these guys are talking about here tonight is fact. This is coming. They are already starting to introduce it. Okay, it might be the military just now, but how long until it comes to a court near you? So Ella, Abraham, is there anything else you want to touch on?
I just wanted to, finish this. I just remembered a few more things about the signs to look out for. For example, we adopted a puppy about maybe about a year ago. But at that time, in the summer, it was only like we had the dog for about only 3 months. And they started to touch the dog intimately, the private parts. And I've noticed it, and also Abraham noticed this. And the other thing as well, about a year and a half before this event, I also discovered children in the bathroom with my daughter having panties off, and Gabriel filming her on the camera. And so it raised my concern a lot, and I started to watch out for that. But the thing, on the other hand, they kept me so busy, and then later on I found out that he was he told them, make it difficult for mom. So it's always like, oh, we're hungry. So I'm always in the kitchen. And of course I was working out different strategies to keep always one child with me, doing maybe homework or reading. But then they managed, of course, to get together somehow. And also when, other children were coming to our house, like for play day, also I've noticed that, they would go to the bedroom. They would go to the bedroom and they would go like upstairs on the bunk bed. So things like that. I never caught them doing anything, but I was suspecting that some kind of unacceptable behavior is going on there. So yeah,
Could never imagine this.
but I could never ever imagine that. Not just that, I was a little bit unequipped to even recognize this problem, I would say, because I'm not from this country, and we have hardly, at the time when I was growing, I could, maybe at the age of 6, 7, I could easily wander off with my friends. We played games like maybe several blocks away. So I'm talking, it was that safe for the children to be out on their own. And everybody was doing this. It's not just my parents were careless. It's just we didn't have this problem. I mean, I'm sure there were some pedophiles existing, but it was so undercover that if someone would find out, they would probably be torn apart.
Well, Ella, Abraham, we're almost at the very end, and I'm sorry to cut you off there, guys. Thank you so much on behalf of myself, the network, and the listeners. We all stand side by side with you. I'd love to have you back on after the appeal to get an update on what is happening, and please, please, please stay safe, guys. Thank you so much, and everyone out there, stay tuned for Popeye. This has been a hard show, guys, but it's been a must, so please stay tuned.